Okay, everybody. So today my guest is Nicolas Vandenberghe, and Nicolas is now the CEO of Chili Peppers, but he began his career selling newspapers in the streets of Paris in high school, where he studied maths at École Polytechnique, and then received his MBA from Stanford. He started and sold 3 tech companies with up to 65 employees and $11 million in revenues. Also ran sales for a $2 billion telecom firm, negotiating billion-dollar deals with companies like Google. In 2016, he co-founded his 4th startup, and that's Chili Pepper. So the mission for Chili Pepper is to reinvent the system of action for sales professionals, to provide them with new levels of productivity and job satisfaction. So they kind of are trying to reinvent scheduling, calendar, and inbox, and stuff like that for revenue teams. So yeah, thank you very much for being here, Nicolas.
My pleasure. Happy to be here.
Yes, and I would start with your current company, Chili Peppers, because there's a lot that you've done. So I'm not sure we will have enough time, but how would you describe Chili Peppers? What is it? What's your product like?
Yeah, you gave the right introduction. I started the company because I love sales, and I can tell that the way sales is done is going to change a lot. The technology is going to help salespeople do their job much more effectively. Right now, everybody's using Salesforce, but Salesforce is a backend system where you keep your records, but it doesn't help salespeople do their job. Actually, to a large extent, it makes it harder for them because they have to update Salesforce. So I started Chili Pepper. You mentioned this idea of a system of action to build tools that help people execute their job. So convert the pipeline and convert the opportunities, win deals, and execute. And when we started, we thought, okay, what's the first problem salespeople have? And we thought, well, booking meetings. I need to book meetings very fast. And so when you start a company, you always have to have you need to start with they call it a wedge, right? So a place where you clear need, you could say niche, clear need in the marketplace that you can go after. And what we found is that there was a very simple yet acute problem with companies in their inbound process. So B2B companies spend a lot of money in marketing to bring people to their websites. Then the call to action is request a meeting or request a demo. And when the prospect fills the form after requesting a demo and click submit, they get a page that says, thank you, somebody is going to call you. And then the prospect is left wondering, well, who is going to call me and when? And in that process, companies typically lose more than half their requests. So we solved that problem with a smart system that goes into the web page. Upon form submission, our system qualifies the prospect, make sure that the prospect is right for the company, then routes to the right rep. So based on territory or size or other rules, find the rep, and we can dial the rep and dial the prospect and immediately connect them, or retrieve the calendar of the rep and say, here's the calendar, please pick a time that works for you, and they pick a time. So when we did an A/B test with a company called Segment, they found that we increased their conversion rate by 61%. And a lot of other companies have doubled their conversion rates on inbound. So that's what we currently do. We help that inbound process. We automate that's for routing, qualification, and scheduling. And from there, we're expanding into the other parts of the job of a salesperson. And what we found is that salespeople spend most of their time in their inbox, right? So between the calendar and the inbox. And we thought, okay, how can we reinvent an inbox to make it super useful to a salesperson? The idea that, you and I use Gmail, my mother used Gmail, and it seems odd that salespeople who spend all their day in their tool would use the same thing as my mother. Surely there are ways for them to do the inbox better that serve their needs. And what we found is that often now teams are specialized and different people have been interacting with an account. So we created a new inbox, an email client. We call it collaborative inbox. And what it does is that it syndicates email from one inbox to the other, so that you always see what other people have been emailing to your account. So at any time you can, within your inbox, see every email that has been sent by other people to the accounts you're working on. And then you can comment a bit like Slack, you can, or Google comment, you can select an email and say, hey, Brian, did you ever hear back from him after that email? Or what did he say? Or or the manager can say, hey, I think you should follow up on that email, and so on. So it's a collaborative inbox by syndicating emails across inboxes. That's what we do.
Got it. So I have a sales team, right? And I have an agency and something, but I only have like, let's say 3 salespeople. So this isn't for me clearly, because you're talking about somebody who has a large sales force where there's a ton of inbound, and then they have outbound and doing enterprise sales, I assume, because, account-based marketing, you usually describe the account-based marketing approach. So is that your typical client, somebody who has a large sales force and doing account-based marketing?
So I'll start with, because I've mentioned we have a suite of solutions. So the first solution is the inbound solution. And the answer is, it doesn't matter if you have 3 salespeople or 30 or 300 salespeople. It matters how many leads you get. So we just have a customer who came on board. He only has 2 salesperson, but he gets tons of inbound leads. So if you have a lot of inbound leads, you don't want to let them vegetate and wonder what's happening to them. You want to automate that process. So our inbound solution would work if you have a lot of inbound leads. As for the collaborative inbox, I'll send you, I'll give you early access when it's ready, and you'll tell me if you think you need it or not. You're going to be able to see every email that your salespeople send, right? In real time, you'll see what they say. If you wonder where things stand with this prospect, you Google the name of the prospect in your inbox. I say Google, I shouldn't say Google. You search the name of the prospect in your inbox. Boom! You see every thread that your rep has been extending with that prospect. So you see exactly if they're doing it right, where things stand. If you can coach them on doing it better, you have a level of access that never existed before. And that would work from the beginning. Yeah.
So now we use Hubspot, right? And I can see if I go on an email or something, I can see who emailed them, and I can see the history and all the things that happened there. So obviously that's a different UI interface, a different tool. So how is let's say your tool, how is it different from Salesforce or Hubspot or a system where you have all these things? So does it sit on top of the inbox? How does it actually look? How can I imagine this?
And a good question. So to be fair, Hubspot does a reasonably good job at showing you emails that have been sent. But you will not see the entire conversation, and you will not see it at the account level, and you will not see nicely organized a thread, and you will not be able to act on it by commenting on it, right? So ours looks a lot like the Gmail inbox. It's very familiar, but what happened is that you can see all the emails that have been sent to an account, so group by account, as email threads, and you can directly comment on them. So that's the kind of stuff. It's a lot more actionable than it is in HubSpot. So in HubSpot, you have a hard time. I tell you, if you really want to know what things are happening with a particular account, what you do is typically you don't go to HubSpot, you go to the rep and you say, hey, what's going on, right? Whereas with our stuff, if you go to our inbox and you search, you really see everything that has been exchanged in a much more clear and actionable way. It's the user experience is very different in HubSpot, seeing contact by contact emails sent to that contact versus in our inbox where you search for an account and you see all the threads and you can chat around that thread. That's the difference with HubSpot. And HubSpot is among the better ones about capturing email. In Salesforce, the email capture is a mess. You can't see anything. So we're starting with Salesforce actually because it's where the current solution is the weakest.
So you're currently, this space I had a ton of founders on, and they all call it like sales engagement space, like industry or something. Because I looked at your website and I saw the logo, like all the guys who are still in this space are actually your customers, like Discover, all the data providers, the tools, all similar companies are your customers who are also in this space, right? So that tells me that this is what you just described. It's kind of for people who are doing outbound. Is that true? Like more outbound led as well? The email inbox, would it be?
No. It's anybody. As soon as you start processing, is anybody. It's funny that you say I would call that sales engagement, because we of course
I've heard
wonder
it. I
how
haven't discovered it.
no. So it's a good point. It's a good point. We heard well, what should we call it? Our solution. And we talk to people and say, what do you think sales engagement is? Well, sales engagement is sales often outreach, right? Sending a lot of emails to engage people. And the very nature of the sales often outreach platform is to stop when a meeting is booked. So you send a lot of emails, and when a meeting is booked, is the end. We start when a meeting is booked. That's where Chili Piper starts. So our inbound solution, somebody comes and wants a meeting, we book the meeting, and then we follow up with it. Our inbox starts when you start sending email. So we don't deal with sending a cadence of 11 emails to 200 contacts. We don't do that. We say, you engage, you've got that first engagement. Now you need to process it well. So right now, the closest, so it's a suite of products, and the closest description we found is revenue conversion. We have revenue conversion suite. We focus on revenue conversion. So we're not trying to engage people who have never heard from you. We're trying to convert deals that have started.
No, I see the value. Today I spent a ton of time with a sales guy where we were doing exactly this process. We have a ton of leads, and now we have them in Hubspot. Now I have to create tasks for each of them to follow up. It's like annoying. And then, it would just be easier to have like some sort of tool in between those two things where, you need to do something after the lead, or like a response or something comes in, and then until you get to the actual meeting or something. So that would be very helpful, definitely. Yeah, I can see the value.
And another, I don't know if you already have account managers and customer success, but another personnel that we target are these customer success and account managers, because when they take on the account, they need to know what was discussed, right? They need to know the history of it. They need to have an easy access, and they'll be able to check the rep. Hey, I see no notes in HubSpot. What did you promise them? And go from there. When the renewals comes, you want to know every discussion that will be held. You want to see if there was support emails exchanged. So we on the lifecycle part, we are very strong, because that's where you want to know all the history of it. And what we found is that logging emails in a CRM is a good first step, but getting directly in your inbox and making it actionable is the best solution.
Yeah, I guess that applies more to SaaS companies, since I have an agency with app development, and it's the types of clients we work with is our long-term contracts where I know exactly that it's not like we have thousands of deals. So it's a different, very complex sales, right? It's not as easy as selling SaaS or license or something. But I still see the value, because we're mostly outbound driven agency compared to many other agencies, which are usually founded by technical founders, which I'm not. I'm a sales guy. So
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure, our early customers are SaaS companies, and it's typically applicable to SaaS companies. This whole idea of specializing of sales, so SDI, account executive, account managers, customer success, and having multiple teams touch an account and making sure that they can see what others have done is more common in SaaS.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, as soon as we're ready for you, I'll have you try our collaborative inbox, and you'll be quick to tell us if it helps you.
We might launch some B2B SaaS startups. We have done 3 before, but they were B2C. So we might do B2B startup. And then, definitely, if it's SaaS, we want to try it out, because I'm very familiar with all the sales tools. So it says in the description, you've bootstrapped the company, and then you've raised, I think, $3 million, right, in the seed round, or something like that.
That's right. We were already past 2 million. The way we did it is, so we're going to talk about the marketing strategy in more details, but on the product side, we picked a problem that was acute and poorly served, so that ability to convert from your website. So a lot of companies' problem, we were the only solution, so we were able to do annual deals very quickly. The way we did it with this, what we call the bullseye strategy. So it's something that I copied from the fashion industry. You know, in B2C, in fashion, influencers matter a lot, right? Because by definition, almost like fashion, what's fashionable means that somebody has exposed it as fashionable. And in the early 2000s, Louis Vuitton came to the US. They were doing 120 million in revenues, and they thought we should do a lot more. And they went with this bullseye strategy where they thought about the circles of influence. And it turned out that influence is in concentric circle. The bullseye is the center. So the most influential people are the celebrities, right? And you've seen it, you've seen the Oscars, you've seen all the red carpet thing. People look up to the celebrities, what they wear, how they dressed, you know, what's fashionable now. Then the next circle is what Louis Vuitton called the socialites. So people who are very visible and very social, but not famous. So it would be typically the mayor of the city and his wife, right? The people who have photographs. So Vuitton went first to the celebrities, make sure they carry their bags and wear their clothes. And then they organized local parties where they went after the socialites. And from there, it just expanded to the rest of the population that actually, so the rest of the population looks up at the socialites who look up at the celebrities. So by starting with center of the bullseye, they were able to propagate that influence.
So they started with celebrities, just to be sure?
Yeah, celebrities,
okay.
That's right. That's right. So you start with celebrities, and when you've got the celebrities carrying your bags, you make sure that the socialites carry your bags, and when you got them, then it spreads and everybody wants it. So we did something similar. We went with the companies that were most visible and influential. So in our space,
which one?
Well, there are companies that were well known for being very advanced in how they do their operations. So we went with a company called Segment, which is a well-known marketing company. Square, the payment company, everybody looks up to Square. In New York, there's a company called Greenhouse. It's been very strong, a SaaS company that everybody looks up to. So we started actually with the company that Greenhouse and Segment are not known by the general public, but they're very well known in the tech industry. So we started with these people, and then we expanded with brands that are more visible. So now we have Facebook, we have Intuit, we have HP, we have companies like that. You've seen the logos on our website, and we continue with brands that are known and the next circle of influence, and from that we spread. So that gives us the interest of. For example, ZoomInfo is one of our customers. You know, a lot of people interact with ZoomInfo. They like the interaction with them, and they come back to us and say, "Hey, I love the way I booked a demo with ZoomInfo. I see it's done by Chili Piper. Can I use the same system for my own needs?" And that's how we get a lot of inbound customers. So that's how we're able to bootstrap and have a very low cost of acquisition, because people would just inquire, what is Segment using? What is Greenhouse using? Oh, they're using Chili Piper. We should use it too. And they'd come to our website and engage with us.
But isn't those early adopters like those guys? Because not normal people don't really go for the first technology that is on the market, right? The new. So when they see like, oh, who is Discover.org using or ZoomInfo, who's asking that? Like,
everybody who is a customer of ZoomInfo and everybody who's a customer of Greenhouse, right? They see that there's experience. The early adopters, the difference between the bullseye strategy and the early adopters. In the early adopters, you say, I wonder who's going to be bold enough to try my new software, right? And you just find random people. And it could be, I remembered my previous company. I had a guy in Brazil who out of the blue, was a very advanced user. I mean, of course, it's great to have customers, but if you have a Square as a customer versus a small company in Brazil, of course, it's going to be more influential to have Square, right? Because people know the brand, trust them. So the idea is to pick your early adopters as the influential companies. And so the challenge is, well, how do you get them to be early adopters? But what you find is that often in our world, the people who are influencers are also early adopters. That's almost how they get their influencer status, right? So if a company doesn't, let me take an example, a company that's slow to adopt new technology. So a company that's going to have a long cycle to adopt a new technology, right? Let's say HP took us a long time to get HP as customer. Well, people are not going to look up to HP when it comes to sales technology because they know they're a slow adopter. So they know they're not going to be on the most advanced tool right now. Well, they will look up to ZoomInfo, Square, Greenhouse, Gainsight to get the right ideas on what they should use. So the key work we did is to target these influential companies as early adopters. Yeah.
So that makes sense. I can imagine getting in touch with them and convincing them to try it and becoming early adopters. What do you do then? And you put the logos on the website. Is that enough, or do you have some specific process to build that strategy?
The latter. So once you have them as customers, the logo on the website is nice, but there's a lot more to it. You want them to talk about you. So you, of course, will produce case studies, and then you'll try to get every possible occasion for them to talk to you. It could be on LinkedIn that they mentioned that they're using you and they're happy. It could be in person at an event. So, for example, a good friend at Square went to give a talk about how he had optimized his inbound process, or his handoff process, and showed Chili Piper, right? And even the non-Chili people raise their hand and say, "What did you use to do that?" And they say, "Oh, we use Chili Piper." So that was a very strong recommendation from us at events where they actually present what they use. In meetups, more informally when they discuss it. So you want to make sure that you facilitate that process of having your influencers talk about you.
How about if you go like Sales Hacker? That's a good community, and like it's not a real. Well, it is company now. It's part of Outreach, right? But before it wasn't. It was just like a community of people building blog posts. So maybe have you tried something like that, engaging with communities as well?
Yeah, exactly. That's part of it. Yes, exactly. And Sales Hacker mentioned Chili Piper in the early days. When people said, "How do you do your routing of meetings?" You say, "Or you use Chili Piper." So very much communities are one of the targets.
Right. And so maybe my question is now, let's assume, so you have these influencers and all that, and then you have some outbound system to get in touch with them. How big were you until you reached that place where you raised the seed round? Let's say until the 2 million mark with this process. What was the percentage between doing it with the influence versus doing it through specific outbound and some other channels? Like, was this like the majority of your marketing? Let's say this what you just described, this bullseye marketing?
Yeah. When we went the seed fund, we passed 2 million. We were still about 2/3 inbound.
Yes.
And our inbound was mostly these referrals. Yeah, we'd started our outbound, so we'd 1/3 outbound, and we're growing it. Now we have an SDR team, but for the longest time we didn't, and we were getting 2/3 of our revenues from this process.
And currently, how big is the company in terms of employees or something like that?
Yeah, we're 42 employees, and I'm always happy to report that these 42 employees are in 36 cities because we're completely distributed. So
around the world or in the US?
Around the world.
Okay.
We go from Brazil, Argentina, US, Colombia, Mexico, Portugal, then more exotic places, Cyprus, Slovakia.
Hey, that's where I'm from.
There you go. Yeah. So we actually have 3 people in Slovakia. It's funny because it's the largest number of employees we have in one place.
Nice. Well, that's strange, but it works for you. So, are you planning to raise another round in the future, Series A, or is this the way to go, or you're not planning this at the moment?
We bring into market our products. We've made sure to remain cash break even at any time, or close to cash break even. So we keep doubling at some stage we'll take additional funding for sure. It's a matter of having proven that our new solution works. So our inbound solution is deployed by hundreds of companies now. It works very beautifully, and we're scaling, but we don't need much investment for that.
Mm-hmm.
Our inbox is something that's going to come up in the second quarter, and that's where we want to show how powerful the solution is before we put fuel on the fire.
And what's the overall vision for the product? Like, I know the inbox, but then beyond that, like, what's the, like, maybe 1, 2, 3 years from now, what do you envision to build as a category in this sales enablement or something different? Like,
yeah, the simple way to think of it is you using HubSpot. HubSpot is a $10 billion company now, and they've done it by dominated marketing, right?
Yeah.
So people use marketing automation from HubSpot. They use thing. I think the same thing is going to happen with sales. There's going to be a new set of tools that are obvious for salespeople, and that's what we want to be. So HubSpot, I say we want to be the HubSpot of sales. The funny thing is that HubSpot themselves, they want to be the HubSpot of sales. So they're building sales tools and all that. But history has shown that often companies have a hard time being as successful in a new category as where they started from, because they get so much success in the existing category. And so we want to take that new category. Yeah. And you can say, well, they're already doing a lot of it, but in our view, there's a lot more that's going to happen in the sales tech. There's going to be a lot more tools on helping salespeople. So we are the first to take the bold move and say, we're going to replace Outlook and Gmail. We're building an inbox and we're replacing Outlook and Gmail. Nobody's done that. When I first brought up the idea, people thought it was crazy that everybody stick to Gmail and won't move. Now there are companies like Superhuman that's being very successful, replacing Gmail with an email client. So all of a sudden it seems possible, where when I brought up the idea, people said it was impossible. And, you know, if we succeed in doing it, then the market is massive, right? Because all the salespeople, there's like, I think there's like 2 million professional salespeople, B2B in the US. All of them could benefit from better tools. So it's a very large market.
Yeah, I think especially for you, like, to be honest, I haven't heard of Chili Pepper before. And it's weird because you're quite a big company. Like, I usually know these extensions that have like 2 freelancers or something worked in on them. So it's strange that, you know, you still probably, you know, once you grow more, you will definitely catch more inbound leads or something when your company is well known, you know, after maybe next 6 months or something, maybe even because of this podcast. You never know, but like it's still like I think there's still a place to grow, definitely, for sure. By the way, do you know the founder of Lemlist, Guillem? Because he's also from France, and he's the Lemlist is also kind of a sales engagement tool, but it's more of an email outreach tool.
What's the name of the company you said?
It's called Lemlist. It's an email outreach tool. So you know the thing you described before for outbound. But
I don't know.
I said it because he's from France, and he also wrote a blog post, I think 2 days ago, like how he got to 1 million in annual ARR bootstrapped, and he was on this show as well. So it's very like it's very similar, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So great, I can send you that then. Yeah. So thank you again for stopping by. If people, you know, they want to try it out your solution, or just want to connect with you, how can they do that?
They should come to our site, Chili Piper. So it's a play on word, right? It's a play on Chili Pepper, and Piper is in pipeline. So it's CHILI, Chili, Piper, PIPER, chilipiper.com. And our inbound solution is what we use to engage with people. So if they fill a form, and connect with us directly, and we'll take them from there.
That's great. So guys, go check out Chili Piper and connect with Nicolas maybe on LinkedIn or something. You never know. So thank you very much for being here. And yeah, it was great speaking to you.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Bye.